Today we're going to do a guide about how to speedrun Factorio. So we're not going to do an actual speedrun, we're going to just talk about how to design a build. Speedrun Factorio is something that takes a lot of practice, but also a lot of planning. And today we're going to discuss the planning aspect. So we're going to talk about one of the modes today, which is called any %, because that's probably the easiest one to start with. And we're going to walk through all steps of designing a build. I'm going to be using a map which I have found and that I run any % on. I think it's quite a good map because it has large patches, lot of coal rocks, offers a good start. Also the patches are fairly rectangular, so you can fit lots of lines, miners in them easily. So when you do planning, you don't play the game like normally. You do it in editor mode. That is entered by just opening console, typing editor twice. Now we're in editor mode, then we don't have to worry about basically anything. The game does not need to be paused. We can build everything without worrying about resources or anything. You can plan out your base. So on this map, the starting area here is really nice. There's a lot of coal rocks. It's also a very quick start. And what you want to do at the start is set up some burners. I usually go with 10 for an iron, sometimes a bit more, sometimes 12. And what you want to do at the start is just set up iron first, and then 1 copper to get some early copper so you can start crafting signs, red signs, and then some coal, some more copper, and some stone, which we will get up here. Stone is slightly far away, but not too far away. What I usually do on this map is, on all maps, you chain coal like this so that they mine into the next boiler, so that they all fill up. So this is the first thing that we're gonna put down. Were there any copper? Yeah, that was copper. Like this. And on stone you're gonna have like maybe 4. You can, after you've done this a couple of times, you realize if you're short on something you need to add more. If you have too much on something, then you should actually do less, because everything you build takes time and resources. And one thing that's very important in speedrunning is to not build too much of anything. Build exactly what you need, not too much, because that takes time and resources, not too little, because then you're short on resources. And the burners are temporary, just to get you started, so don't overbuild them. I can usually get these burners down in about 4.5 minutes into the game. I have this built. Then you want to chop some wood and craft the initial power plant. This map has one nice thing. It has coal fairly close to water, which means you can do the direct mining power plant, which is quite convenient, because then you don't need to run back and refuel it. So, water pump. In edit mode you can just click everything and you get it. So what I have ended up is building the power plant over here. No, that was right, because then I can do this direct mining into the power plant. I usually start by building just this little thing to get the initial science started. That's basically all you need to do at start. Then you're of course going to expand it. We are going to build our base over here, because here we have copper, here we have iron, so we can mine. iron is going this way into the starter base here, and copper is coming from the north. So at the start we want to handcraft the science for the first lab and place the lab, I don't know, somewhere. Oops, that wasn't a lab. What was that? Repair lab. Okay, whatever. That's not what we use. Airtimon has some strange items. So, starter base is one of the hardest things to build. It has the purpose of creating all the materials that you need, and also red and green science, and also bots. After that, we're gonna do a big build with bots and expand everything very quickly. Starting build is all gonna be set up by hand, so it's important not to overbuild it. What I have been doing is that I built 2 iron lines and 1 copper line for the starter build, and hopefully get that done in about an hour. Get bots within an hour, then we're quite happy. So an iron line takes 15 miners. Can you do like that? Yeah. We're just gonna place them somewhere. We can move them if we think that it's in the wrong spot later. Now when we design. How many were there? Did I actually place 15? No, I placed 16, which is actually 1 too many. I want 15. In edit mode you can just copy paste everything directly. Narvi said that he did an 90% PB. That's very close to the world record. That's cool. Then I need to start playing 90% again. So also the smelting lines. We have a fairly set build, which is kind of always used in speedruns. It's to start by feeding coal from a chest. So we're gonna have a chest feeding coal in here. I'll just add some power here so we can see that it actually runs. And do so that we have coal on one side and iron ore on the other side. And inserters we place like this in a dragging motion, because that's quite fast to set them up. Most of the inserters for most things are placed like that. Power poles should be placed like this. And then we can just, now when we build it in edit mode, we can just copy paste it. We're gonna have a splitter here so that we split the ore, because this is a full line of ore, 15 miners each side. Put some coal in here. Oops, now I press Ctrl X. Ctrl C is to copy. Thank you guys for a subscription. So when we start our run, we're going to build only half of this first, and then we're going to build the other half. And what we're going to start by doing is setting up the gear production. Yeah, like this. No, not like this, like this. Is how I usually build. I mean, you can design this in any way you like. This is how I have started doing it. I mean, the starter base takes a lot of iterations to get right, to have just the right amount of everything in it. And I usually go with automating the gears really early, because if you have gears, automating handcrafting is a lot faster. The start of the run is going to be mainly limited by crafting speed. So you want to get as many intermediates running as fast as possible. So I'm gonna add another iron line here and then a copper line. So that's what we're gonna have. We're gonna take copper from over here, maybe here. Then we somehow need to drag this down, connect to the copper. I'm gonna place that over here. So now that we have, we can actually use infinite chests here. But we still get coal. Infinite chests is very handy because they are always full. Now I set them, this chest always contains 50 coal, no matter what. As we want to create a lot of intermediate materials here and some more advanced materials, we do want to get a line here, which is 1 iron and 1 mixed copper, gear and green circuit. Because that is, if you have that 1 iron and mixed gears and green circuits, then you can create basically all the basic components that you need, like inserters, assemblers, a belt, everything, all the most basic components is made out of those 3 things. So that is what we want to get up as early as possible without doing too much. Thank you, Bilke, for the subscription. Hotkeys is also something that you want to use very much in speedrun, because it takes too much time to like take stuff here. I can take it from here and drag it, but if I have a hotkey set up, I can just click my hotkey and I get whatever I need directly into the cursor. I have like, I don't need to. After you have done this, I didn't have any inserters. After you have done that many times, you don't need to think on what hotkey do I need to press. You basically have it in muscle memory. The thing you want to do to practice that is to force yourself to never take anything from here. Always use the hotkey. If you do that, then you will get used to it, and you will soon have it in muscle memory, so you don't have to think on what key to press. You will just think, now I need an inserter, so I get an inserter. Bilka 2 is Bilka, yeah. This is what we want to do at start, when we have only 1 iron line. When we build a second iron line, we want to disconnect the first one, so all this one goes into gears. And when we get steel and can make assembler 2, we want to upgrade all of these and all of those, so we have the perfect ratio here. Assembler 1s for green circuit and assembler 2s for copper wire. When we do this, we also need to upgrade the inserters here. This is the, I wouldn't call it main bus, but the main feeding line to the starter base. because these two belts here are enough to make almost all the basic components. Remember to buffer stuff like iron, so we're gonna have output prior going to the main line here, but any excess we want to buffer here. Same goes for copper. Maybe we don't need it for copper actually. Buffering is less important in any percent than it is in default settings. Now this is not to teach users to use my layout, it's to how you design your own. I mean, I'm gonna use my starter base because yeah, that's the one I know, and I'm gonna explain why I do things the way I do it. Not that you have to use exactly this layout. I mean, there's lots of different. You can see the one Anti uses is very different. This is one I've come up with. I mean, the main point is it should be fast to build. It should be produce enough of everything, and has good utilization of the ores. You see here, this belt is fully moving. Should be fully moving. It's being no, actually this line is backed up, so it's not. After you have set up the intermediates, you want to set up some basic production of belt and inserters, which we are going to use a lot. So if you have those already, you can only grab those. It speeds up. You don't need to handcraft those anymore when you get that. So this is the absolute start, the first thing on the build. After we built this, we're gonna build science. I don't remember how I build this. Something like this. I think I built it something like this. I don't remember my starter base. Right, and we need copper on this side to make red science. And the amount of red science and green science assembler, you should try to make it fairly even. So that you produce about the right same amounts of both. I think I usually use one assembler 1 here for red science, because that balances it out a bit better. So red and green science is the things you need to set up first. Usually I build a few of these very early and place labs and directly insert to them, just so I can get all the red technologies like logistics and steel and like logistics science packs. Automation is the first one. Military we're not going to do because we don't need any military. Electronics you need, fast inserter you need, steel axe you need. This is what you're supposed to research while setting this up. Buffers are important, both for science and for basically all moderately expensive components. And also limiting all buffers. For example, this I might limit to 2. Belt I need lots more, so I limit maybe even to 30 or something, because you need a lot of belt. These chests here are just so I can pick up stuff and handcraft. Because if you have green circuits and gears, crafting a lot faster. I mean, crafting an inserter. An inserter takes 1 iron plate, 1 gear and 1 electronic circuit. It only takes half a second to craft. If you don't have gear, then you need to craft gear. That takes another half second, so it's just that you're missing gears, it takes twice as long to craft. Electronic circuit takes 3 copper cables, and a half second copper cable takes 2 for 1. So it's 1.25 seconds to craft an electronic circuit. So it's 2.25 seconds to craft an inserter if you don't have any intermediates. So it's 4 times faster if you have gears and electronic circuits. So you want to get that up as early as possible to be able to handcraft everything a lot faster. Yep. What also is important to think about is inserter speed. As you see, this one produces 2 transport belts at half a second, and the crafting speed of an assembler 2 is 0.2075. So it actually creates 1.5 belt, 1.5 cycles each second. So we actually need 1.5 iron plate per second or 1.5 gears per second. That means that if I had like this, it wouldn't produce at full speed. It would lack resources. Even the output inserters cannot keep up. One fast inserter is not enough to take all the belts out of this one. The speed of a long handle inserter is 1.15, and this needed 1.5. So by adding double long inserters, I can get this working at full speed. The same is actually true for inserters. It needs 1.5 gears, 1.5 electronic circuits. Here, this is actually limited by the inserters. It's not producing at full speed, because I only 1 taking from iron plates, and I have 2 taking from this mixed belt, and it needs 2 items from that mixed belt for each cycle. So to get this working at full speed, I will have to use it like this. Turns out I don't need it working at full speed. 1.15 each second is enough, because we're gonna do more later. It's enough to feed the science, and it's enough to, for the rest. I'm gonna just add all the other stuff I have in the starter base. I have usually set up pipe here to be able to handcraft lots of stuff that needs pipe. Basically all the oil stuff needs a lot of pipe. The pump jacks, the refineries, the chemical plants, all of those need lots of pipe, and you also need to place a lot of pipe and underground pipe. All of that requires a huge amount of normal pipe. You need several thousand pipe just for handcrafting. So you should set up 2 and later reassign one of them, because after I set up oil I don't need that much. On this map, oil is here down south. It's not a very big patch, it's like 5 patches. As this is any percent, we have crazy settings, so it's actually 3255%, which is quite a lot. More than... it's actually not really enough. That's one drawback of this map. We could get here, but it's pretty far away. But we can do with this. One refinery uses about 200%, so we can get about 16 refineries working on this, which should be fine. Sometimes I used more up 20 by buffering oil and also adding some speed modules to pump jacks, so they can get out some more of it. What we also need to produce is... I don't remember how I did this. Inserters. And we need to do assemblers, miners, everything. Assemblers actually require... Wait, I usually do medium power poles here. Usually when I set up the second iron line, I set up a steel line, which I usually place down here. Steel we start by making with stone furnaces, and then we upgrade it. We upgrade it to steel furnaces. When we upgrade steel furnaces, half a belt of iron ore is not enough, then we need 2 half belts. That's why we have a second one here. We're also gonna these chests which we fed coal from. We're gonna as quickly as possible replace them with actually a belt of coal, because that's we don't need to keep refueling it. So I usually go here and set up a belt of coal. Power needs of course to be expanded as well. Several times I expand power. You don't want to expand it too early because it takes a lot of resources. But you don't want to run out of power, so you have to expand it. So whenever you run low on power, basically you have to expand power. Not sure if I placed this exactly where I usually place it, but we can move everything here. Moving stuff in a creative mode is very easy. Just to Control X, move it, and say I want it over here, maybe. Or let's place it back where it were. Here. Things can go very wrong in speedrun. I mean, it takes a lot of tries to get everything perfect. How do we usually do this? Like this, I think I do. And then we feed iron in here. That was Control X, which is not what I want to do. Control C is to copy. When setting up the steel smelting lines, you drag inserters here this direction, and then you do this dragging motion here, turning two of these. And I usually build them with medium power poles because I researched them early. You can skip that part and go directly with small all the way. That's just personal preference. Now we have iron ore and coal up here. Wait, this is not right. This is supposed to be like this, I think. Yeah, I think I built it like this. Don't even remember. Yeah, no, it is like this. Or is it like this? No, it's supposed to be on the other side here. Damn it. Don't remember how I build this. Coal has to go on the inside here. It has to be like this. Because these output steel on the outside. After you have designed your base in creative mode, you have to like memorize it. That's also quite hard. I usually build steel buffers. Now I call the wrong side here. Like this, with 2 outputs for every input, so that you can output twice as fast. So you can empty the buffer really quickly. And also it outputs to both sides, so we get full belt here. When we get bots, we're gonna do steel furnaces, and we can use the upgrade planner like this. Create mode to upgrade directly, so we get a full belt of steel here, which we're gonna drag through everything here. Get up here, and we're also gonna split it so it goes past here. The reason I have a steel belt here is so that a few things here require steel. Medium power poles, for example, requires steel, and copper and well, okay, it's not being have enough coal. That's why it's not working. Requires steel and copper and sticks. We require iron, and then we need an output chest. That was a infinite chest. One thing that's quite important, we're also going to need to place labs. I'm going to set up the base so I know where labs go. To make bots. Bots is one of the main thing. We want to make all the products for bots to place, and we want to make bots. To make bots, we need engines, electric engines, robot frames, and then construction bots. And what I usually do is I take out the belt. You can hand feed it. I usually don't, because I set up a belt of gears and pipes here, and I drag it all the way down and make some engines here. Now this might not be a correct position. If it's not, I will move it like it was actually off by one. This is supposed to be upgraded to medium. So when you design the build, you can just do it wherever you think it will go, and then you can move it later. Here we're gonna have lube coming from somewhere, don't really know. One convenient way of doing this is that you can drag medium long handle inserts like this, and then we're gonna hand feed steel here in these chests, because we want to limit bot production, because yeah, bots take a lot of resources. We don't want to overproduce it. So here we need green circles on this belt, and the engines are going to come out on this belt. How much bot production you need? If you need 4 of each here, or 2 or 3, you need, for every 2 assemblers making robotic frames, you need 1 of these. So if I have 4, I need 8. How many you do need? Oops, I didn't have space here. We need to move everything down a bit. Because we need 2 more assemblers here. There? No. 1 tad too short. Here. Okay, now I don't have the research unlocked. Let's unlock some research. So I can actually, in creative mode, it's very easy to research stuff. You just click it and it's done. Where's the silo? Just click that and I should get almost everything I need. Except construction bots. Construction bots. Where's the silo? There's the silo. Unlock that, so we have that. And something else we need that we're going to research that's not on the critical path. Probably advanced oil. That's what it's going to use. We're going to use some lab speed. I have to shift click to instantly unlock it. Okay. If you don't have it unlocked, the copy paste thingy doesn't really work because it resets the recipe, so that's quite annoying. Why does that? Did that start to blink? After we set up the starting base, we're going to go through how you. Here we need the green circuits. So we're gonna side load into this underground here and use an exit, so only the green circuits gets through. And then we're gonna hand feed steel here in this chest. You have to calculate how much you need. I will go through that slightly later, depending how many bots you need. Here you see again all inserts going the same way. I can just drag them. It's quite quick to set up. It's like this I do it? No. I have to do it. like this, I guess. We're also gonna limit the bot production, the amount of bot we need. We need to hand feed steel here, and we need what's called batteries. We want to limit bot production. For 10%, I usually use 300 or 400 bots, and each bot takes 2 electronic circuits. So I limit them on electronic circuits. So to make 300 bots, I need to put 1, 2, 3 stacks in here. That will make 300 bots, assuming that this production runs. And we want to put them directly into where's the row port? There's a row port. That would make the bot network here work. To create row ports, we need red circuits. That means we need oil. So red circuits I usually do here, because here we have red circuit needs plastic, which we're gonna have on a belt here, and we need on this other belt there is electronic circuits and copper wire. It needs copper wire and electronic circuits. So 14. I'm not sure I need 14. So let's make some copper wire here, which we're going to put on this belt. We need to put it on the left side. So you need to see about the ratios here. For one copper wire assembly is enough for 6 of these. So if we have more than 12, we need 3. We can actually go with about 12 or so. Also for copper wire you need double, not double input but double output. So that's copper wire coming here. So when we set up this build here, we're gonna need to make labs before we set all this up. So we need to make labs in a way that's not in the way of anything. I'm gonna move this one tile away, like here, because then we can use this again. Long inserters, dragging very quickly to set up. Then this is all the space we need for this. Then we can have this belt coming here with all the signs and be and we can do the labs over here. The amount, this was wrong type of lab. The amount of labs you need, I usually start by adding maybe 32, 36 labs, something like that, like this. The reason for the long handle inserts here is later we're gonna add more types of science on a belt here, and then more inserters here. Because then now we can do 4 sides, and then even later we're gonna add undergrounds here to feed even more types of science into this build. So we can feed 6 types of science from one side, like this. How many was this? This was 10. Let's make 8 more. So we'll go with 36 labs. That should be a good amount for a start. Maybe we don't need that many. We can go with 32. That should be enough. Depending on how fast you want bots. 32 is probably enough to get bots in an hour. Maybe 36. Now Now we have almost everything set up for the starter base. The starter base is not that different depending on how you want to do. We need to buffer here. Everything needs buffer, depending on what you, how fast you want to make your build be. What is your target time? I mean, lots of designs we do have a specific target time. This guide I'm going to target quite slow time, yes, because I think everybody should be able to copy it and do it. So if we go for like 4 hours, most people should be able to do that. This is the stuff we need for bots. Bots to place. We need inserters, we need assemblers, we need basically all the basic components. You don't need to automate everything, but everything you don't automate you need to handcraft and give to bots. And it's you have to weigh some things. Is it quicker to automate it or is it quicker to handcraft it? Inserters, fast inserters, red inserters, you need very many of them, and also for power poles in very many. It takes a long time to handcraft. Maybe stuff like undergrounds and splitters, you don't need very many. I mean, if you blueprint the smelting lanes and set them up by bots, then you need some underground splitters, not very many, but some. So I usually just handcraft those and put them in a manually insert them in a provider chest, which is fine. That that is quicker for me than to set up automation of them, because they require belt and then I need to add another belt assemblers. Some things that require a lot of resources I tend to automate, like assemblers. Assemblers need assembler 2s need assembler 1s, and it also needs steel. So we can go like this, have an output also. That should make assembler 2s. Probably not need iron plates for that anymore. No, you don't. That was the previous game version. You see, everything here feeds off these two lines basically, because those is the main thing that's needed. We also need to make miners, because we're going to set up miners with bots. All of these chests you want to limit to not overproduce them, because assemblers and miners takes a lot of resources. You don't want to overproduce them. The same goes with medium power poles, because they use steel. Steel is kind of an expensive resource. So now we have everything. At this point I usually increase green circuit production slightly, because these 5 are no longer enough when I set up red circuits. So what I have ended up doing, this needs to take from here. Also these chests need to be limited, so not overproduce, not use all resources. See this belt here that goes to this belt? That's so it has priority over the things that comes on this belt. So this will keep working even if this belt's backed up, as long as this is consuming. Now this is not consuming because it's not getting resources. Okay, we need an oil build. So oil takes refineries. We need undergrounds and pipe. I just add them here. So let's make some refineries, I guess. Just place them somewhere. At this point in the game I usually switch to using medium power poles. How many refineries you should set up by hand, and how many you should do with bots depends a bit. We want to have enough plastics to feed the starter build of red circuits, and we want enough to feed the batteries for bot production. I've come to the conclusion that 6 refineries with basic oil processing is enough at start. And I usually set it up like this, so this will be the water pipe for when we switch to advanced oil processing. We're not going to connect that because then it will be oil in it, which we don't want. So when we switch to advanced oil processing, we can just fill in this last pipe here on all of them and connect them. Okay, we wanted 16 total, I think. And 12, 2 more, and 2 more. Like this probably. Can probably move it down slightly. Here. So that we can have space here. When we start by setting up oil, we're gonna buffer, especially the heavy oil we need to buffer, because that will take a while before we do anything with it. We also need to turn some of it into lube. Like this. So we have lube for the engines. And we also need to store some of the light oil, because we're mainly going to be using the petroleum at start. I actually need to drag stuff past here. That's we'll worry about that later. Okay, we need actually oil here. I'm just gonna connect it somehow. Make some pipe. You can spend any amount of time planning this to do this in the absolute optimal way, exactly how to rotate those. Now I'm just gonna set them up quickly. Also, you want to like plan stuff out, like exactly where you're gonna drag the pipe, so you don't run into stuff, run into any trees. In 100% you can plan exactly that, where to start dragging the underground pipe so you don't run into stuff. Now this is working. We're gonna have a water pump here. For water, which later. When we do switch this to advanced oil, what I have ended up doing is running past everything like this, switching all of them, and then on the way back is dragging pipe like this, which wastes a bit of pipe, but it's very quick to set up. And in speedrun, speed over efficiency. If something takes slightly longer, then it's okay. If something is slightly faster and not as efficient, it's okay. Okay, the plastic production, battery production I mean. Batteries need copper and iron. That's why I usually set up next to here when I have 2 belts of that. This insert will output, and that insert will take it and put it in the chest. That will output directly in the chest. This inserter will take it from the chest and put it on a belt here, which goes to feed the bot production, and put it on the same belt as electric engines. We also need to buffer electric engines somewhere, because we need 200 electric engines for the silo. So we're going to use this production to, after bot production is done, it's going to make some more electric engines and put them in that chest. and we need to hand feed enough steel so that we make all the we need for bots, all the frames we need, plus all the electric engines we need for the silo, which is 200. Okay, acid, sulfur. This also takes a lot of planning to get this build efficient, in that way it's quick to set up and not too complicated. I usually have sulfur being fed from a tank, because if a tank somehow has more priority than this didn't line up exactly, but maybe we want to move everything. This lined up very well here, so maybe we don't want to move everything. Let's see. We're gonna move everything 10 times during speedrun planning. Then we need water here. I usually steal some water from this line because it doesn't use all the water. That lined up perfectly, so maybe this is a good position here. That is batteries producing. Then we will make plastic. You have to calculate how much steel you need when you plan. If you want to go with 2.5 hours, you need 3 steel lanes. If you want to be slightly slower, I think you can do with 2 steel lanes. So let's go with 2 steel lanes. Here we actually need an underground. I'm out of undergrounds. And we're also gonna steal this coal here, come up on a belt here, so we can make plastic. Now we have coal both for smelting and coal up here. So here we're going to make some plastic. This is actually misplaced. Plastic needs petroleum and coal. Same here, being able to output at double speed of the input and also feed both sides of the belt. Now we see that we have actually only space for one belt here, which on one belt plastic might be fine, might not be fine. So if we need 2 belts, we should move everything. Let's go with 8 and move everything here down 1 tile, so that we have space enough. These have to be connected. We need power here. Now we can have 2 belts. This is not producing 2 full belts, but it will be buffering for a while and have the chest fairly full, and when the chests are fairly full, we can draw 2 belts out of it. Now we can connect the plastic here to the red circuit production. Okay, this is what the oil build will look like. Fairly okay. When we set up this plastic production, okay, now the oil buffer is not connected. Maybe this wasn't the best place for this belt. Or we can buffer it someplace else. We don't need that many because we're going to be using the light oil to produce solid fuel. I usually leave 4 gap here, so I have enough space to place a roboport somewhere here, because most of this is going to be built by bots. We're just going to build like 6 at the start and then copy paste everything to create the rest. And we're going to make 2 plastic and then copy paste the rest. Water is no longer connected. Connected now? No. That's connected, that's connected. Okay, it's working. So this power plant is not going to last this long. This will last quite short while. So we need to make more. Perhaps that much more. Here we have 6, so we can get 20 out of one water line. So let's have 20 here. We need to expand this in stages. First maybe two steam engines, then we build this part, and then we expand it a bit, and then we expand it some more. So we have enough. When we set up plastic, this coal belt is no longer enough, so we need to add more coal here. Now we have all these 15 first, which is half a belt feeding into one half of the belt, and this 15 feeding into another half. Not sure we need a full belt of coal. We can do with slightly fewer there. What we do need is more iron here to feed this second steel line. This second steel line we're not going to build by hand. We're going to take this one, copy paste it, and build so that let the bots build it. Okay. You'd have to be careful when copy pasting that there's not stuff in the way. I will ruin runs just because that. Okay, after we set up oil and get some plastic and some batteries working, so we get bots. That's where we want to expand all this mall to produce everything here, so that bots can create everything. At that point I usually switch this one to be steam engines, adding an inserter here. Limiting to 1 so we don't overproduce steam engines. That will mean I don't need to handcraft steam engines, which is quite nice because steam engines takes a lot of resources, and I might not have all these resources available from the start. Okay, for power, this power plant will get us about this far. Then it's not enough. So what we usually do is turn all light oil into solid fuel and use that for power. We should try to do that in a copy-paste friendly fashion. Set up the same kind of buffer here, feeding both sides of the lane. Because this is right after bots, we want to do this. So these tanks need to last until we get bots. That's their purpose, and then they are obsolete. That's just to take care of all the light oil until we have bots and can build about. I'm going to show you how much I usually build by hand and then how much I copy paste of this. Build that, copy paste it, build a second line, turn this belt so it goes the other way, and then just copy paste this entire thing and add all the power we need. How many? 26. That should be fine for how many? We did add 16, yeah. That should be fine. It should be consuming all the light oil. Turn it everything is into solid fuel. As we have slightly more than 20 here, we need double lines of water here. Water is conveniently close, so we can just add waters. Now we're soon gonna go to Excel and continue the planning. To starter base, you don't need to plan very much in Excel, I find, but the rest of the build you do. This actually lined up very well to where towards where the water pumps could be placed. That was actually pure luck. I mean, we can remove stuff here because you want this as okay. There, solid fuel is coming to the other power plant, and we also need solid fuel for smelting because yeah, we could use coal for everything, but okay, this was a bit spaghetti, more spaghetti than is actually necessary. We wanted to connect to the smelting line, not here, because that's where all everything goes to plastics. So we want to set the output prior so that plastic has priority. That actually means we can connect this one here. Quite easy. So that solid fuel comes to smelting, and smelting is fed by solid fuel. Solid fuel is a lot more efficient. Plastic cannot be fed as solid fuel. Plastic actually needs coal. And when we have full priority, full belt here, we have enough for the plastic. Okay. This is about as far as we get with the starter base. So, no, one more thing we're going to do in the starter base. It's create blue signs. Now pump jack doesn't have power. We should plan this out ahead, exactly where we're going to place these power poles, because you need to place this before you have placed everything else, and it should not be in the way. So if you plan it out ahead and know where to place the power poles, you don't have to do like all this spaghetti around them later. If you need to move them, it's not a big deal, but if you move them, you can actually accidentally disconnect stuff and everything's ruined. And you don't notice it until like 50 minutes later when you're out of plastic and wonder why, and then realize you disconnected your pump jacks. That has ruined runs. Was this in range of everything? This is a good spot for a rover port because it's in range of everything. It's in range of the starter one. Probably need one down here. It was not really in range. So let's do the Excel planning part. This, starter base is not really that much affected about how you plan in Excel, because it's gonna be, you need to set up the mold, produce everything. I mean, you could do a lot smaller red circuit build if you're only gonna use it to craft some row ports. You can do a lot smaller build, you don't need to belt it, you can just hand feed it some stuff. That's a valid strategy. Antelids have used that a lot. I usually use this red circuit production here for nowadays I use it for blue signs. Before I used to use it for other things like what did I used to use it for? Yeah, I buffer red circuits to hand feed into purple signs late game. Okay, now we should switch to Excel planning. Excel planning is fun. I can spend any amount of time when I'm at work planning in Excel. I have a few different sheets that I'm going to show you. The first one is a science, which I have wrote. It's available. I will link it. I will also link this entire planning suite. Here I have listed all the technologies that I plan to research during the speedrun, in approximately the order which I researched them and their cost. And at the bottom we see the sum here. This is the total amount of science we need. For automation and logistics, not that important, because we want to have big production of those at the start when we so we can get bots quickly, but then we're actually overproducing them, so we don't need them as much, so we don't really need to care about the total numbers that much. We should limit the chest we store them in so that they are not full of like 2000 science at the end, which is wasting a lot of resources. If we don't limit them, we will be using them fully until we get bots, and then we will not use the signs as quickly. So the buffer chest will fill up. We'll start to use them quickly again at the end, so we need some buffered. But I usually limit the chest to like maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, it's already filled up because we're not researching anything. They fill up pretty quickly. So maybe 2 stacks, 2 or 3 stacks. Just to make sure that we don't waste resources here, because resource here will be thin, especially when you need to handcraft everything. You all the time go empty these chests. If you find yourself low on green circuits in the mid game, you can upgrade these to assembler 2s. That won't make them quicker because it's still limited by copper wire, but you can also craft some production modules. This will instantly increase production by 8%, which is quite nice. And this is still almost perfect ratio, and not insert limited in any way. Still limited by copper wire. This idles very little. You can see sometimes it idles because it doesn't have copper wire. So this assembler 2 with 2 pro modules is slightly faster than copper wire, but only by like 5% or so. You can do the same here. So you get slightly more copper wire production. Green circuit production, I mean. For free, or for the cost of the production modules. That's why I like the 1-to-1 build here a lot more than the 3-to-2 build. Because 3-to-2 build you can't do this without fucking up the ratios. And with this 1-to-1 build you can do this. And you just get instant more production without any ratios getting fucked up or anything. Ratios are not 100% perfect. I mean, these assemblers idles like a few percent of the time. But they are close enough. Okay, back to Excel planning. And I show you how I plan in Excel. Yes, this is the science part. So we know how much science we're going to make, and now we're going to design the builds to do it. What I usually do is create a sheet like this. So for blue side, target production was 3,250. We want some extra to make sure that all labs are working at the end. Because if you plan to research a silo with your last science pack, yeah, then it's going to take really long time to get to that last % researched. So we want some overproduction. We will add production modules to the labs late game, so maybe we don't need to add here, but we're not gonna create. So to calculate how much production we need, I usually start by at which time I want the science to be finished. That depends on when I want this build to be finished. Let's say we aim for a 4-hour build. That's 240 minutes. So for everything we do, we want it to be done at... why did it do like that? We want it to be done at 240 minutes. How many assemblers do we need? How much is production? Then we're going to check the friendly Factorio calculator, which you can find out Kirk McDonald. Just Google Factorio calculator and we'll get here. So we have to remember to set it to the correct recipes as we use an experimental version. Then we're going to see how much production do we get from one factory. We get 3.75 each second. So how many assemblers? We don't know. Production equal to number of assemblers times 3.75. 3.75. So let's go with one assembler just to see. We can... yeah, I will explain that later. Production time. Production time is target production target production divided by production. So this will take 880 minutes. And when do we need to start? We need to start at finish time minus production time. So we need to start at minus we need to start about 10 hours before we actually start run producing blue science with one assembler. So if we increase this a bit to 10 assemblers, then we need to start at 152, which is 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours should be a good target to do. If we go for this quite relaxed time of 4 hours. So then we need that 2.5 hour mark to start blue science with 10 assemblers. That's fine. All this calculation is to figure out, by modifying this, I can get a start time. And then you can try and see, could I get this running by that time? If not, I need a bigger build. If I could get it running a lot earlier, then I should do a smaller build. Or I can scale down my target time. After you run a couple of times, you decrease the target time and then you have to adjust all your builds. Okay, 10 blue science assemblers. We can probably feed that off the starting base. I usually try to feed blue science of the starting base. What do we need to make blue science? We need engines, we need red circuits, and we need solid fuel. So here we're going to make a belt of engines. Needs steel and it needs gears and pipe. When we see how many gears and pipe assemblers do I need? Right, I'm still looking at the Excel sheet. So what I wanted to show you in Excel now was for 10 assemblers, how many assemblers of everything else do I need? So we type in 10 assemblers here. That says we need 8.4 electric engines assemblers. We need 7.5 red circuit assemblers. We need less than 1 of gears and pipe. So 8.4 is close to 10, so we can do 1-to-1 here. That's quite easy to build. Then we have slight overproduction of engines. That's fine. Red circuit, we can just use the ones we have in the starting build. Quite relaxed time of 4 hours, yeah. For speedrun, 4 hours relaxed. And I think it's a time that everyone with practicing a bit and having a planned build ahead can do 4 hours. If you plan out the build ahead and you learn it and you practice it 2-3 times, then you can get. Hello, Xena Cyber. Didn't realize you were. Didn't. Oh, you actually said hi. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, so back to the sheet. I usually try to produce blue size out of the starting build resources, so I can set it up before I expand mining a lot. What I've ended up doing is something like this. What we need here, pipe. One assembler of each was enough. Right. Then we get enough to make engines here. And we can have a belt of solid fuel coming in here. Maybe we want to do it like this. Easier to drag. So here's we're gonna make engines, where are engines, taking from this belt. Here are engines, here are the blue circuits. So these inserters take directly out of the engines. The reason for setting up like this is because besides it's very quick to build this. All the inserters go the same way. Okay, we need solid fuel here on the belt. Solid fuel comes from the oil build. We can check how much did we actually need of solid fuel. We can see here that we need 0.17 plants. That's not a lot, that's quite little. So we only need one chemical plant. Maybe we can actually use heavy oil for that. Put it here. That's one plant producing solid fuel. Because the speed is the same, it's 2 seconds per solid fuel, same for light oil, heavy oil and petroleum. So now we have solid fuel. We only need like red circuits, and we can use this build. Okay. If we drag them all like this, we have the output coming here, and we have the input here. So we need to turn these two inserters. So this belt is going to be red circuits, which we take from starting build. This is going to be output belt. As we have bots when we set this up, because we do bots first, we can just copy paste it like this for our 10 assemblers we needed. And then we have the output belt going to the labs here. We should add a buffer here. Always buffer everything. And then we're gonna take some red circuits out of these buffer chests and put here. Now 7.5 of these, which we have a lot of, 14 assemblers, is gonna be used to make blue signs. So now blue signs is running. This is a quite quick build setup, I think. It will take some of the resources away from the starting build, but usually I buffer iron early, and then when I get a little later in the game, I add like this so that the buffers are used. Because when all of these are running now, all these are maxed out. But when all these are running, iron here can get a bit low. So by having some buffered and adding it to here, I can keep this running, the production of inserters mainly, and also assemblers, because that will be used a lot when we do a lot of blueprints and do all the big builds. And by having this buffer being used when these peaks of production here happen, then we can keep iron here flowing. Sometimes I also add this belt coming in here to feed even more iron. And then I limit these chests here a bit so they don't overproduce too much gears. And then any excess iron that's not turned into gears can also be added to this line to also keep these here fed. I think if we go for the 4-hour time, then we have so much time to produce stuff here that we actually don't need it. So, what's the next build we want to do? Now we need to check what we actually want to produce and what types of builds we want to do. There's two basic strategies. One is you create a big build of green circuits, then a big build of red circuits, then a big build of next thing and next thing. Or you do localized production of green circuits and red circuits for everything. which one you want to use, it's up to you. I think the one where you make localized productions is a bit easier to do, so I think I'm going to explain that one. So let's go back to planning sheet, and we're going to look at my stuff here. What do we actually need? We need blue signs, we need purple signs, we need yellow signs. This is approximate numbers that I plan to produce, because it turns out it yields nice numbers. As we have production modules in labs, we have 8% bonus in labs, so we don't need to produce 1675. We actually need to produce 1550. We can't do that for any of the signs which we don't have production modules when we start, and we will not have that much production modules until we start to produce production modules a lot. So, but before we do purple and yellow signs, we need to have production modules. So the numbers I've come up with is 1620, because if you put 1620 here, I will show you how I came up with that number. I use we are going to use productivity once in both purple and yellow signs, because that's quite nice. You can, if you type it in items per minute here, you will see the total. This is the total. We are going to ignore that we need very many assemblers, so we can ignore this assemblers column here. But we can see the total amount of resources, and it gets to a quite even number of most things here, so we can easily hand feed that and control it. 500 production modules is what I usually add to purple signs. I usually hand feed that. So by limiting it to 500, I get exactly 1620, which, if we look at the research, is about 70 overproduction, which is a quite nice number to keep a lot of labs working to the end, so that we get quick rocket silo research, which is the last one. So if we have 70 of production, means we have 35 labs working at the end, which is not all, but a lot. Okay, so here we see what the basic things I divide my production up in. Is it modules, blue circuits, low density structures, because these are used in a lot of the components we need. Here's the base components we need. We need blue signs, purple signs, yellow signs. We need a rocket silo, and we need components to craft the rockets, which is 720 if we do 4 prod freeze. 4 prod freeze actually have a payoff of time that is shorter than 1 rocket, because rocket silo consumes an insane amount of resources per minute or per second. So if we divide it all down to modules, blue circuits, then we can do a big module build, and we can use the same build for production modules and speed modules, because we can start by having it making production modules, and then when we're done we can switch it to making speed modules. So how many production modules do we want to make? We will make 500 plus 80. That's 580 plus 720. That's 1400. We also want some production modules to add in different places, like labs. We're going to do like 60 labs. That's 120 more, and we're going to do some more in like purple and yellow assemblers. Take like 200 more, maybe a good number. So we have like 1600. Is that right? Yeah, 1600. So modules, we want to make 1600 modules. That is the first build we're going to do. And I can delete this. No, actually we can't. Let's keep that. but don't use it for blue. Okay, that didn't work. We go back to the calculator and put in one module assembler. So we see how much it produces 3 per second. So we have 3 here, 3 per minute, I mean. These we can just copy. Why did it give me these ugly lines here? No, wait, production equals to, not 3, it equals to number of assemblers times 3. So one assembler is not enough. We want the time to be slightly after this one, so maybe 10 assemblers. Then we can we go with 8? Yeah, 8 is good. It's a good number. Then we can start it at slightly before 3-hour mark. What's this? Okay, let's delete all of this. What I also try to design is how much resources, how much lines of ore do I need to do. So how many lines of ore do I need, how much smelting do I need to make this build? If we go back to calculator and see every assembler uses 45 iron per minute and 97.5 copper. And what is it, 45 iron, and how much plastic? 30. This is the input. How many lines are this? The number of lines, we need to take that times number of assemblers, and one line is 900 per minute. So this is 0.4 lines. We'll just add one there so we can copy paste this. So here we see the number of lines we need. So this build takes 0.4 iron lines and 8.6 copper lines. So if we increase it to 10, it's actually more than one copper line, which is inconvenient. 9, it's very close to one copper line and very close to half an iron line. That could be a good amount because then it's easy to divide the lines. As we have half an iron line and almost one copper line. So we're going to make a build of modules which contains 9 assemblers, and it should have one copper line and one iron line as input, half an iron line. So the first thing we want to do is build some smelting. Usually at this stage of the game we build everything with steel furnaces. You don't need to, but it's easier that way. It's faster for the bots to set up, which is the main thing. So we need half an iron line and one copper line. Ah, god damn it, Excel is still on the screen. Sorry for that. Should remember to switch my views in OBS. Okay, we're gonna build two smelting lines with steel furnaces. So they are only 12 long instead of 24. That's just because it's faster for the bots to do. Then we're gonna build some ore. At this point in the game we have bots, so we can just copy paste the one or mining line. So we need to make sure that we have Roboport coverage like everywhere. Like there we can have Roboport which covers these. We can have a row port down here that covers all the iron mines, and we can have one up here that covers all the copper miners. Should remember to add this. If we don't remember to add this, it will not get built. So if we add these row ports, we can just blueprint everything here and have the bots build everything. We need to connect the ore lines manually. If it turns out this is too much spaghetti, then we need to rethink how we do this. But if spaghetti is manageable, this is like quite okay. It's not that bad. So we're only going to use half this iron line and this fully. So how do you make a good design here? If we go back to the calculator, how much do we need? One module assembler needs 2 red circuits and half green circuits, 1.1 wire assembler. So we don't need this to be perfect ratios, we just need to build enough. You can build like a small green circuit build. I mean, we were gonna make 9 assemblers here. Then we need 4.5 here, we need 10, we need 18, we need 9. Yeah, that's probably the easiest thing to do. We should probably connect this the other way. Copper go on the bottom, iron here. So we needed 10 copper wire assemblers. And we needed 4.5, but that is not what we're gonna get because these will be limited by copper. We needed, damn it, I'm still in Excel, damn it. If we look at here the planning, you see that we need 10 copper wire assemblers. If we click out the green circuit, we see how many I need for red. I need 3 of them to go into red circuits, and the rest will go into green circuits. So that means we need to make 10 assemblers here. Is that 10? That was 10. 10 copper wire, 7 of them is going to go into green circuits. So easiest thing is just to add 7 green circuit assemblers, which is more than we need. We only need 7.5. This is going to consume this line completely. Now we're going to have the hard time spaghetti through the steel here, but we'll worry about that later. We can move everything around later. Okay, this is going to consume half of this line. Wait, what am I doing? So this outputs to this belt. So now we have a copper wire here. We need outputs here. We can do a mixed belt of green circuits and copper wire probably. Then we also need plastic. I guess we have to draw a plastic line here. Not sure how to best do this. can have this coming here, this coming here. We need 2 to 1 here, 2 to 1. Like this, maybe? I mean, you can design these builds in any way you want to. Just try to keep it as simple as possible, as quick to build as possible. Also space, this is not very space efficient at all. We can make it a lot smaller if we wanted to by using, maybe we want to leave some space here to snake some belts through. Nah, this has to go here. Maybe like this. Should be fairly good. Then we needed 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, good. Now we have module production taken care of. This we're gonna run for quite a while until we've created all our prod 1 modules. After those are done, we're gonna run past here, switch all the recipes here to speed modules. Need to remember to do that though. This build should be fairly easy to set up. The next build we're gonna do is the production module, the blue circuit build. So how many blue circuits do we need? We need 800 for yellow signs, 200 for silo, that's 1000, 1720, 1840. So we need 1840. 1840 blue circuits. That doesn't look right. Never mind. And then we check the calculator again. Now we actually have prod modules available, so we can actually use prod modules. And prod modules is very efficient to use in blue circuits. So we're going to do that. We're going to use prod modules in blue circuits. That would mean, and then we go do the same thing. One assembler produces 3.42 production. Okay, one assembler means we need to start at minus 300, so maybe 15. That's an odd number, 14. Then we need, we can see with the belts how many belts we need. This will need a lot of resources. So one assembler needs 2.6 plastic. Just copy that down. Can't paste there. And how much copper? Wow, one assembler uses 126 copper per minute. And how much iron? Looks like uses a lot. So we see here we have slightly more than one belt of iron. We have 2 full belts of copper almost. Yeah, that should be a good production. So then we have one half free belt of iron here because we're only consuming half of it. So we can use that, and we can have another belt of iron here. Now we should switch to here. We should have another belt of iron coming in, so we get enough iron, and then we need 2 belts of copper for this build. So another belt of iron. That was not powered, need to remember that. And 2 copper. I mean, late game you need to expand mining a lot, but if you do this in stages it gets easier. We have forgotten to do stone. That's slightly annoying. Bricks, we need bricks, otherwise we don't get furnaces. So let's just move this up a bit. Okay. Then here we're gonna add a stone line. How many do we need of stone? I usually do 8, so let's do 8. Okay, stone comes from very far away. Here we have stone. Half a belt of stone should be fine. So let's set that up. We haven't done the automation of steel furnaces either. This we need to set up before we have bots, so this will be manually need to drag in this belt and set up the mining. So at this point we might not have steel power poles, so let's do this with normal power poles. Bricks is one thing that you are going to use late game, so you need to buffer it. So we're going to add a buffer here. 2 chests should probably be enough. And the first chest here will fill up more because it has more. So that's one thing to remember when you empty this. You might want to do something like this, so that it empties more quickly. Also, the stone we get here, we want to buffer a bit to use late game for rails. So here we can have stone coming out. Okay, here we have steel, here we have bricks. So let's do steel furnace production here. What's happened to this? Did I move everything? So I destroyed that? Probably did. This is also a chest that's very important to limit very low, because these use a lot of steel, and steel is like kind of an expensive resource. We don't want to overconsume steel. I'm a bit dissatisfied because we need to snake like steel and plastic through here later. Okay, it doesn't line up at all anymore. We need to move this build. This goes here. Doesn't look that nice anymore. We have a lot of gap here. Could be good to have a gap. Makes things easier to snake through, like the belts we need to snake through. Maybe we can even do like this. Or at least leave one gap here. So we can snake the steel through here later. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, blue circuits. Now that we have our 2 belts of copper, how are we going to make blue circuits? If we go back to the calculator, see that one factory of blue circuits uses almost one of red circuits, almost one of green circuits. So that's pretty much 1 to 1, and 1.5 almost of copper wire. So we do 2 copper wire to 1 to 1 to 1. That's ends up with a quite okay ratio production. I have done builds like that before. Oh, this is not powered anymore. I just build them out here and we can move them to wherever we want them. The thing I ended up doing in the past was something like this. I had green circuits in the middle, blue, red, copper wire, and copper wire. Like this, I think. And this coming out here, and then we have an output, and then we have here we have an output belt, here we have a plastic belt feeding plastics, and we need a copper belt coming here to feed these 2 assemblers. We need an iron belt here. Not sure 1 is enough here, probably need 2 here. This should be the build we want to do. So let's put that here. And then we're going to mirror it. So here's the 1 iron belt, here's the 2 copper belts. Here is the output belt, here's a plastic belt. So we're gonna have this coming here. There was the plastic belt which needed to go here and here. The iron belt, we needed slightly more than 1 iron belt, which is kind of annoying, but we can fix that because at this part of the game we have red belt. We don't need to do very much. This is not perfect. Okay. And we said we want to do 14. So let's go with wait. Now we screwed it up. We need this acid also. If we connect it like this, it will connect between the 2 different builds here. So if I do this, I think the pipes will connect. Yeah, they will connect. This is quite easy to set up and it's very blueprintable. So we can set up 1 blueprint to the other side and then just create it with bots like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We wanted 7. This feels like we're wasting a lot of space here, so maybe we should move it. Would require more belt spaghetti, but hey. Also we missed a lot of belts here in blueprinting. Sometimes happens. What is this belt? Okay, the 2 copper belts we connect in here. And then the iron belts, which we actually need slightly more than 1. So I guess we have to do some red belt here. This we probably need to handcraft just a few red belts to get past like only the first copper assemblers. I think should be enough. And then we can take some of this line, we'll prioritize that side so it gets enough. Plastic will be awkward to get in here now, but not that awkward. Should be fine. Could actually do like this even. Might be better. Steel we need for next build, so maybe we should... No, we can't. Yeah, we can have copper plastic coming here. Then we have space for a steel belt here in between. Okay, this is fine, I think. Sulfuric acid we need to get from all the way over here. Usually you can just drag it past here. This is what takes time here. You blueprint the build and then you copy paste it many times. After you design this, you can like change things around, so all the belt spaghetti that you need to do everywhere gets easier. This is not very easy at the moment. Now we're still coming out. We also need some more plastic here. Hopefully we have enough plastic. We didn't check how much plastic this build consumed. This consumed 12.6 plastic. Do we put that in here? This only consumes one fifth of belt. That's quite good, so I have a belt left. So the next, we need to do one more thing here. We need to like buffer the output. One chest is fine, it doesn't produce that much. This does not seem to be running though. Why? Doesn't have acid? Somehow failed to connect acid. Yeah, it's not connected. Now it's connected. I mean, now we're starting to do lots of builds here. Okay, the next build which we're gonna plan is, if we see in the stuff here, it's another big build we need to do. It's the low density structure needed for both yellow science and for the rocket. So we need 1200 for yellow and 720 for the rocket. So that's 1920. So we go here and type 1920 on LDS. Yeah, then back to the calculator, do basically the same thing here. LDS 1, it uses steel, it uses 45 iron per assembler. 40. We're gonna do copy paste all of this. 45 iron. Wait, no, it uses actually no iron because we have steel, so it's only 45 copper. 0 iron, 45 copper, and some steel. Steel was 4.5. Yes, this is guide for any percent. How to create any percent targeting 4 hours. And how to design the builds and what target times to aim for. So LDS, we are going to make one LDS makes 2.25 per second. So we have number of assemblers times 2.25. So if we go with 20 assemblers, we see that we uses 1 copper belt. And we need to get it done actually before the blue circuits. So if we go up double it to we didn't type in the correct number of plastic here. If we go up to 40 assemblers, it only takes 21 minutes and we have lots of time to set it up, which is good. Then we also see that the plastic here ends up quite close to 1 belt. So 1 belt is enough. And the only thing we need to set up is 2 belts of plastic. Because we have the steel belt here. These 2 productions should be enough to feed everything. Okay. Yeah, we have the steel belt, should be enough. We have the plastic, which is enough. We have 1 lane coming here. We only need 1 lane of plastics. So let's do 2 more copper. Copper patch is big enough. It's not a problem. We can build all this with bots. Everything is in range. Easy to connect. Actually, we are getting a bit too close here for comfort. Should probably leave some more space between these belts so that it gets easier to connect at the top. LDS is a very straightforward build. Probably have it. Yeah, let's do it like this. An output belt, copper input there, mixed belt here. Actually create the mixed belt already here. So it's steel and plastic on middle belt, because we need half a belt plastic and very little steel, and then we just need 2 belts of copper. So we're gonna copy this build, turn it around, and have another copper belt go here. Output belt. It's actually not lined correctly. This inserter just messed up. Okay, this is 4. We needed 40. 2, 3, 4. This is half of the build. Is 20 assemblers and 20 more. Okay, this is quite big load structure build, but we need quite a lot of low density structures. This is all the big builds we're going to do: the production modules, the blue circuits, and the low density structures. That should be enough for basically everything we need. I'm going to buffer. One thing when buffering low density structure is that the stack size is only 10. So it's preferable to do many buffer chests, because they fill up chests really quickly. Okay, when we've done these builds, it's time, because now we have all the big resource consuming things producing. Then we need to set up signs, purple and yellow signs. We have most of the components. So what's wrong with this belt? Huh, must have screwed something up when blueprinting. This is turning out to be quite a nice base actually. We have all this big production, which is consuming all resources. We won't do any more resource lines now. This is basically what we expand resource production. I mean, these builds here uses a lot more lines than we do at the start. So now I go back to planning mode and look at what we need to produce. We need to produce 1620 purple signs. Copper is not enough for blue circuits. Then something is wrong with my planning sheet. It says that it should use 1.96 belts. But if we look here, it looks like copper is not getting to the end. Why? Didn't we have 14? Yeah, 14 assemblers here. Right, it's because we forgot about the prod modules. Add prod modules before you blueprint, because adding them afterwards is a pain. Yeah, add them before you blueprint. Otherwise you don't get enough production and stuff doesn't work. Now copper should get enough. It will take a while for the belt to catch up. You can also put prod modules in the green circuit assemblers here. Then you can get slightly more out of this. But I think for this, now we use consuming these two. We have some extra iron here, which is nice, because we might use that for purple, for rails. If we looked at the planning here, we have 0.4 belts extra of iron. So purple signs, we needed 1620. And we're gonna prod module them and one assembler. So we already have the production modules. Red circuits we're gonna hand feed from our starting base, because we have produced a lot extra by now. Buffer that. So to do the 620, we need like this. We need to hand feed 2500 red circuits. That we need to remember to do. So the input here is these three things. It's electric furnaces, and we see that electric furnaces, yeah, we need very little. We have this already produced, so very hard to do a good build here. You see that if we make electric furnaces. We have steel, we have stone bricks. So those should be fine. What we don't have is rails. So let's input the resource for rails here, which is iron. Right, we have no assemblers. We should insert production here. It's 4.86. And we want it to start after this one, so let's go for 16 maybe. Forgot to do like this. Okay, let's do slightly more. 20. Assemblers uses a quarter belt of iron. That's nice because we have a quarter belt of iron. So we need nothing else. We need steel. We need loads of steel. We need what happened there? Okay, now we're actually up to more than one belt of steel. How? One assembler, one purple assembler really uses 3.75? Yeah, it does. Modules are inserted in calculation. Okay, it's very close though, and we also use some steel for blue science. But I think we can do, because we can expand the build somewhere. Most of the steel is actually going, if we look here at visualization, we can see where the steel is going. Most of the steel is going into rails. Sometimes I set up rail production earlier. So if we do rails separately with like 2 assemblers, how much rails do we actually need? If we type 1620 here, which is the amount we need, we see that we need 15,000 rails. So target production is 15,000. And what's the production of one rails assembler? Quite a lot, if I remember correctly. One actually produces 180 a minute. This means that we need to set up rails before we do modules, and actually before we do blue circuits. But that we can do, we can start by doing modules. That's quite nice. We start modules, then do rails, and then we start with 2 assemblers doing rails, 2 assemblers doing rails. They only take 45 iron. Which is only 1/10 of a belt. Purple side will then use no iron because we have the rails buffered. Rails will use steel, which is 90. which is only 0.2 belt for 2 assemblers. Prod mod in LDS is very inefficient as LDS is very slow. And if we go back to purple now, let's say that we buffer rails, start that earlier, and then we deselect rails here, then we see that we're down to 15 rails, 15 steel here. That means we can still go by with only 1 steel belt, because now we use only 0.7 steel belts. We've used a lot earlier, so we'd use the buffered steel we have, start earlier, but we'll don't need to drag another belt. So we need to set up 2 rails assembler and buffer those for purple signs. So where are we gonna do purple signs? I think we're gonna do it like over here, do big purple and a big yellow build. So if we can set up rail buffering, what do we need for rails? We need stone, which we have there. We need iron from this belt, which we somehow need to spaghetti out. That's actually quite easy. We can do rails production right here. Then we just need to put iron sticks here. This actually turned out to be a lot easier than expected. So iron sticks there. Actually, we can put it on that belt. Now let's don't. Okay, this needs a lot of input inserters to keep up. And we need at least 4 chests as output to be able to output a full belt. This is slightly tight on space here. Where do we need to spaghetti it out? We need it coming out here this way. Okay. This is actually bricks, that's not steel. It's not bricks it needs steel. Okay, let's not do it here. Skip that. Where can we do it? Where is space? Space is always an issue in this game. We need... What do we actually need for purple? We need 1 belt of mixed belt of bricks and steel, and then we need 1 belt of rails. Mixed belt of bricks and steel is very easy to do. Somehow easy. If the bricks were on the other side of this belt, it would be even easier. It's not that easy to get that. Okay, here we have that belt, mixed belt of bricks and steel. Oh, no, no, no. And where are we going to do the rails production? Doesn't fit that way, doesn't fit the other way, doesn't fit here. Yeah, we need... Maybe we can do this in a smarter way. Damon, thank you for the subscription. I'm just trying to figure out how to make this build in a non-spaghetti way. This can work. Problem is the output here is not very conveniently placed. Probably better to do it this way. This is still on the wrong side of this belt. Can I actually fit this here now? No, I can't. It turns into complete spaghetti. I guess we just need to move some production around a bit to give us enough space to do this. We need 2 spaces here to fit enough inserters, because you can't do it with fast. Yes, you can do it with fast. How to do it with fast inserters? If we do it with fast inserters, we need these 2. Like this. That could work. Now I have 2 fast insert fees of that belt and 1 of that belt. That should be enough speed. Then we can get our 4 outputs so that we can output quickly enough to fill an entire belt rails. This solves almost all our problems except the problem of actually outputting this. Okay. I don't like the spaghetti here really, but I guess we can somehow improve it if we figure out a better way. Problem is we need to get bricks out as well. Don't have real space to get bricks out now, do we? How wide is this build? Barely fits here between. Maybe we just need to move this slightly, because here is space. We can move this up a few tiles. Squeeze this build. Squeeze the. We can squeeze the blue circuit, blue science build quite a lot. Make that a lot smaller if we want to. Then we have space. How much can we squeeze? 1, 2, 3. We can squeeze with 3. Then can we fit this build if we have 3 more? 1, 2. Yes, we can. No, that's actually need 4 more. Know what we can do? We can just move this build. Get us plenty of space. If we just leave this gap here, we should be fine. Then we don't need to do all this silly spaghetti. Then we can just place this build in a nice way here. There's rails. We can do the input quite easily. Just need steel and sticks and stones. Sticks and stone might break your bones or something. Just wondering if we can move this to be better looking. Yeah, we can. Can have this on this side. I don't know which is easier to set up. This is maybe better. We need less undergrounds, less of everything. This should be quicker to set up, I think. Then we can also drag this belt straight, which is nice. Wow, inventory is full. Picked up too much crap. Okay, this should be the rail buffer. And we have plenty of excess space, so we don't need to worry exactly about where we place it. We still need power. We still need this belt to come up here. Probably merged with this belt. We can consider where we drag this belt. Okay, now we have the stuff we need for purple. Okay, here we're going to do the purple build. So we have rails coming on this belt. So we're going to do 20 purple assemblers. Limit rail chests. Yeah, depending on when I set it up. I mean, if we look at the plan, if I set it up before this point in time, which I will probably do, because if we do it right out of modules, I'll probably set it up quite a lot earlier, then we should limit it. And we have 8 chests, 15, so let's limit them to 2,000 each. So stacks of 10. Then we shouldn't overproduce that. If we see that we can cut the production also, if we see that it's we have produced enough, we can direct insert from electric engines. And we wanted to use these. We should have a lot buffered here by this time, so we can take some here. Probably easiest is to hand feed it. And just go like this. Set the chest here, and then just hand feeding. And also take the 500 production modules we need and insert them directly into the assemblers. If we do that, and insert exactly half a stack each, like this. Okay, now I actually ran out here. Let's take some more. So we have 25. That means we will run exactly 25 cycles in each assembler. And with the 8% productivity bonus, 8 times 25 is 200. So then we get exactly 2 extra, free, and none of the meter filled at the end. And that's quite nice because we get maximum bonus from productivity modules that way. We also need this belt here. So we can if we want to move all the belts in a very straight way. No, that inserts in the wrong time. Okay, we can't have all the belts straight. But this still looks nicer. Probably don't need this much space here. Now we need an output belt. How many said we said? We said 20. Damn it. Still not enough belt here. Here we see row port range. We need to check row port range because we have actually removed row port down here. Here we needed one, and it doesn't have range to everything, so we probably need to add one more. To have range to everything here, we need to add it somewhere it's not in the way and easy to place. Still doesn't reach everything there. Here it still doesn't reach everything. Okay, we need one above here. So we can add it. The point is that these should be easy to place even when we haven't dragged all these belts. Here is fairly easy. There's one tile away from where this belt turns. It covers most of it. Doesn't cover the last part, so we need another one down here. Probably want more row ports down here, just so we get the bots recharging. Where do we need to place it? There's not enough. There's not enough. This is a slight issue actually. Kind of need it here. That should be fine. That covers everything. And we can place this after we've done the module build, so we know exactly where the belt goes. So that should be fine. We only need it to do the last part here. We should remember to place enough. So by this time we should do like this. Not all purple covered. Okay, I guess we need to add more row ports when we do the purple. Still not covered. Yeah, sometimes you need to add more at the end. There we can add it. So, and then we need to go and pick up from here, and we need to add 12.5 stacks in 4 chests, so in 5 chests. So that's actually 1, 2.5, 1, 2.5, 1, 2.5, 1, 2.5, 1, 2.5. That we also need to remember to do. Once we've done that, purple should be running. Then we need to connect this, just connect this belt here. Then we have purple signs running. Then yellow signs. We need slightly less yellow signs. So most stuff here. Yellow also we have everything produced. Checking what yellow signs needs. It produces, I think it's the same rate as purple. The robot frames. We are going to. What I usually end up doing is using this production because it produces bots fast enough, and then it idles for quite long, and it is fine to just hand feed some more and have it produce 400 more frames. What I have ended up doing is hand feeding 100 steel into each here. If each one of these have 100 steel, then each will produce 100 robot frames. That will mean that I get as many. Then I get 800 frames here, and some of these have been turned into bots. When I do 800, then I can do 400 bots. If I just wanted to do 300 bots, I would remove one assembler here, so I have 7, which turns into 700 robot frames. 300 turn to bots, and I have, at the end game, I have 400 frames in this chest that I can pick up. As this is anyway limited by green circuits, they won't get any more bots. I can still use 4 here, it will just buffer the engines. Buffer engines here for a silo. So if I should do 700 here, that means I need 700 steel here, plus 200 for so I need to add 900 steel total there. As it's an even number, then it might be easier to do like this, have it on a belt. So I just need to add 900 in one chest. Then there's 900 steels for the engines, which turns to 900 engines. 7 of them turns into frames. 200 buffer in this chest. Of those 700 frames, 300 turns into bots. I get 300 bots that works building the base, and I get 400 frames, which I can feed to yellow in the end. So if we look at the planning sheet again, if I do 400 frames and I can feed half a stack into each assembler again by hand, then I can fill 16 assemblers. And we're gonna make 296 yellow. And looking at the rate, it's 4.86, which is the same as purple. Then we can just drag everything down, which means I need to finish both the purple and yellow build at the same time, despite them being different sizes and producing at different rates, producing different amounts. But that's because they need 25 cycles of each assembler. But we should be able to finish those in the same time. We can probably create a blueprint where we can blueprint both of them together. That could be nice. What do we need for yellow? We need a belt coming here with having frames on LDS on it, and we need also can have it here maybe. And then we need to put blue circuits on the other side. So it's a mixed belt of frames and blue circuits. Should we do it on the other side here or on the same side? If we do it on the other side, we need to snake this belt past. Otherwise we need to snake the science belt past. It doesn't really matter. We can do it here. I mean, yellow is such a simple build. It just one input belt, one output belt. It's as simple as it goes when we have these big builds feeding it. And we wanted 16. Like this, and then we take our 400 frames out of the chest and hand feed like this, 25 to each by right clicking, so we have 25 in each. Yeah, then we need to snake this belt past somehow, and this puts on the right side here, so that's actually fine. We need to have a buffer somewhere. Now we can just place it here. That means it would actually go on the wrong side of the belt, but that we can solve by doing like this. Yeah, now these chests are not full because they have no time to buffer, so not all are working. But if we get this build down a lot earlier, this I think is all the builds we need. These two builds are very quick to set up. It requires some hand feeding to get them started, but that should be okay. And now they are producing science at a very quick rate. This stage in the game, we really want to add production modules to labs. Also expand labs. Maybe we want to do like another row, or we want to do like something like this so that science doesn't pool in one end of the labs. Because sometimes it produces a different rate. We have all the science pooling on the belt here and new science coming in with one type and getting added to labs here, and some science are pooling down here and getting added to labs here. That's why we do this snaking build here at the end. Like this, it can be blueprinted quite freely, quite easily. You just need to set up 3 and then you can blueprint the rest. And you can even do 2 lines of snaking labs if you want to. I think this is probably the amount of labs we want here at the end. That's something that you can try and see. If the labs are bottlenecking, then you need to add more. But before you do purple and yellow signs and start doing the slow text, because the technology is, most of the technology is 30 seconds an entire game until you get to the end where you do like prod module freeze. This is a 60-second tech, and silo is also 60-second, so each science pack has twice as long. Most of the others are, that's actually 45, but most others are 30-second. Like the majority here is 30 seconds. Some of the very early are slower. This is 5 seconds or faster, but the majority is of the red, green and blue texts that we do are 30 seconds. But when we get to purple and yellow, most of them are 6 seconds. So what we haven't done is rocket fuel. That's another thing that we need. So go back to planning mode and add rocket fuel. Where's rocket fuel? There's rocket fuel. You see, one assembler only produces 1.5 a minute. That's like not a lot. And we need 720 to build a rocket. So, I mean, we can go with quite few assemblers, like 10. That means we need to set it up. We can even go fewer. So with 8 assemblers, we need to set it up basically the same time with the modules. We can do it before. Just after we do blue signs, we can set up rocket fuel production with just 8 assemblers. That should be fine. We see here that one rocket fuel assembler, we don't see it very well here because the oil is fucked up, because it uses cracking. But there is a 2:1 ratio between solid fuel, because this takes 2 seconds per solid fuel, and if we look at the rocket fuel assembler, it takes 30 seconds at 75% speed, so it's 40 seconds. In 40 seconds, and it uses 10. In 40 seconds, solid fuel plant has produced 20. So we can do like this, and then just buffer it 2:1. What I have ended up doing is, because we don't use the heavy oil for anything else, and we need to get rid of it, I've just created a build like this, which is very quickly to do, and then you just blueprint it a couple of times, and like that. And you can set that up quite early. If you do it later, you just like if you want to do it very late, you can by just duplicating it. Do we have robot coverage? Yeah, everything's covered. Damn it, I fucked this up. I forgot to remove planning mode again. What I wanted to say was rocket fuel is quite simple to do. There's a 2:1 ratio. So we do one solid fuel plant to 2 rocket fuel plants. I usually said do it from heavy oil. And this is quite quickly created by hand, and then it's blueprinted a couple of times. Bots will fix it, and yeah, that should take care of rocket fuel if we set up early. If we want to do it late, then basically everything we need to do it late is duplicate the build, and it will be done in half the time. But if we do it late, we might need to add more heavy oil buffers, just to make sure that heavy oil doesn't fill up in the tanks, because it can do that, and then everything here oil is stopped because heavy oil is not being taken care of. You can also add some heavy oil solid fuel production to the power and smelting build, and then just do this from light oil. But the build like this is very quick to set up, and it just fills this chest with rocket fuel. And at when you're supposed to build a rocket, you just run here, grab it. Basically one inventory is quite enough to you need 720, that's 72 stacks. You can fit 8 in normal inventory. If you haven't done tool belt, if you do tool belt, you can actually fit 90, which is 900, which is a lot more than you need. So you need to run down once, grab it all. So where would we want to do the silo? We also need to do rocket control units. Rocket control units needs modules, which we by now should have when we get into endgame. we should run past here, switch all this production to speed modules, so we get a lot of speed modules to make the rock control units. You can do an advanced build with circuits. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're familiar with circuits. Otherwise it's pretty straightforward build. You can do it. Best is to actually have it circulating and do a mixed belt here of speed modules. Now this doesn't look very nice here. Okay, now my inventory is full again because I picked up so much crap. So this build size is not very important. You set it up very late because you basically need this is basically one of the last takes you do before to unlock rock control units. One of the last thing you do before you unlock the silo. So you need to have a pretty big build. It's preferable to have it circulating like this, because then if then all of the resources are circulated round and round and not all pooling at the end of a belt. I mean, I usually do like pretty many, like this maybe. That should make it produce in time for we have the silo ready. Maybe we want to add a row port here and do it a bit further away so we have space for the silo here. Maybe here. Don't want to do it too far away because you know more belt latency, but we can have some space for a silo. You also want to search beacons, because at the end game you should have produced everything you need for a silo, and then when yellow is done, you just buffer some rock control units here and have them insert into the silo like this. And you have some rock LDS, I meant to say. You have some LDS coming in here. You do want chests here to feed it. You can do advanced splitter builds here to get this chest perfectly balanced. It's not really needed. And then rocket fuel we just pick up by hand and hand carry in here. Producing free of the prod modules free. Quite easy, you just set up few assemblers anywhere basically. And you just hand feed materials to them to make first prod 2s, and then when you made enough prod 2s you make prod 3s, basically one in each assembler. So you get them at the end. Is there anything else we need to build? Yeah, of course you need to handcraft a few beacons at the end to make the rocket craft faster, because at the end if you have everything ready you're limited by the speed. It takes like 9 minutes or so for this rocket to build. With enough beacons you can get that down to like 1 minute. So you can like add a lot more beacons than this, but some beacons, I think I go with like 12 beacons around the silo in my speedruns. Is there any other build we need to think about? No, I think this is about it. This is all you need. You should try. I mean, anyone can run this build, I think. Maybe we need slightly more here. Anyone can create a build like this, and with a few tries and learning to memorize the build, can get the time below 4 hours to launch a rocket. Shouldn't be that difficult. And then if you want to better time, you just go back to planning mode and change the target time and scale up all your builds. Basically, you need to build bigger builds in a shorter time to finish earlier. You need to make all these builds bigger, more lines of ore. But this build is quite relaxed start, I think, because you have a lot of time to get bots. If you practice a lot, you can get bots under an hour. That's not easy to do. That's quite hard to do, to get to the bot stage. Concrete, yeah, of course. You need to do like a hand-fed concrete build somewhere. I sometimes do it down here, because here's water. Basically, wherever you have water, you can do like concrete. Add a couple of assemblers. Okay, this didn't. This was a bit in the way. 5 is enough. You do concrete very late, because there's no point. Basically, after you set up purple and yellow science, you go expand the labs. Then you do like prod module freeze and concrete while waiting for the silo research, and then you just hand feed. With 5 assemblers, it's enough to hand feed. If you hand feed bricks, you can hand feed 1 stack into each, and then add some iron ore. You don't need very much, half a stack's fine. And 100 bricks will produce 200 concrete, so you get 1000 concrete out of 5 assemblers. But that you can place anywhere, basically where there is water available, as you anyway hand fed them till. There's no point in automating it, as you need exactly 1000. If you do even more, 10 you can do, then you don't even need the outputs, and then you can just hand feed half a stack of bricks into each, and you don't need the outputs because they will buffer 100 internally. If you do 5, then you need each to boost 200, and it will stop after it's 1 stack in the output, so then you need output inserters. So 5 or 10 there, it's no problem. After you've done this planning, you see that maybe I can do this spaghetti in a nicer way, and if I move everything. And when you're in editor mode, it's quite easy to like move a build. Just Control X to cut and drag it away. You've seen me done it numerous times now. And when you run the game, you see what bottlenecks. If something bottlenecks, you need to increase production of it. Or get it done earlier. Let's do those 2 options. There's always a trade-off making a small build early or a large build later. When you're in the early game, trying to set up like your first half smelting lane and some assemblers, then you're very much limited by handcrafting. So it's quite important to craft the right stuff at the right time. After you set up the mall, you can just go here and grab more stuff. So then handcrafting is not that important anymore. But like in the first hour of the game, handcrafting is very important to craft exactly the right amount of stuff at exactly the right time. So then we use crafting lists. I I create my own crafting list. I use create them like this. Have stages where I go. I don't have the very first half of the smelting in here, but I have this. Reds do set up some manual fading red signs. This is what I need then. And then some power, and then to optimize gears I need to craft this stuff. To get this nice icon, you just type image and then steal them from the Factorio wiki. I do. You can just right click the image there and select the image source. And then you get this nice. I liked it to have it like this, color coded with icons, because then it's very quick to see. I do have this up on my second screen when I run, so I can quickly check it. After I run a couple of times, the more I run, the more I know this by heart. I don't need to check. Sometimes I forget something and I'm middle of building something and I run out of like power poles or something. That's really annoying every time. That's just because I haven't followed my crafting list. I thought I remembered it, but I didn't. But after bots, then it's just okay. The rest of stuff that needs to be handcrafted, basically stuff that is not automated, like boilers. I don't automate boilers. I need to craft 60. Yeah, the icons is very good. It's quite easy. You just type image. This is Google Sheets. It's yeah, have access to internet. So every icon is taken from the wiki, Factorio wiki. Is there anything else that's important? Yeah, hotkeys. The hotkeys you're supposed to use here. I mean, some of these, the default hotkeys are not very good, I think, because I think it's the keys 1 to 10, which I don't find very useful because they are very far away. So I have set up my hotkeys to use where are the hotkeys? Here. This is default ones, 1 to 0. But I use my mouse buttons, mouse button 4 and 5 a lot, plus shift or control. So I have all inserters I have on mouse 5, 8 to 9. So this is mouse 5, this is mouse 5 shift, this is mouse 5 control. And I have belt on mouse 4, and underground and splitter also on mouse 4 with shift. God damn it, cheats in the way again. How hard can it be to remember to click OBS and switch view there? Memory is not good at my age, obviously. What I want to say is that the shortcut keys, I use mouse 4 and 5 plus shift and or control. So I have when I click mouse 5 I get an inserter, control, shift mouse 5 is a long inserter and control mouse 5 is the fast inserter. And I have the same for belts. Mouse 4 is a belt, control mouse 4 is an underground. Now shift mouse 4 is an underground. Control mouse 4 is a splitter. And then I use chests and power poles on 3 and 4. I actually use those. The 2 and 3. That's the only number key I use. I don't use 1 because I tend to like have a very hard time hitting that. Somehow I always misclick when I try to click the 1 key, so I stopped using it. Yeah, put only 1. When you do smelting, that's a very good tip. When you do smelting, you need to have some coal. To distribute coal, you can use this drop item key, which is drops item. You can use that on 2 furnaces and burner miners to insert only one at a time. You can like drag past, which means that it sometimes drop something in between them. Yeah, it's Z by default. I still use Z. I've been thinking of what key to remap that to, because I don't really like Z as a key. It's a bit inconvenient to hit, but yeah. Now I'm getting used to it, so I will probably not change it. This lab should of course be picked up. Let's see if we remove this here, how much power did this base use? Did we actually build enough power? I can't even put stuff down. Power is quite fine now. So we have enough power. Not 100% sure everything is running now because we are low on plastic. Plastic actually needs to buffer for a bit. So there is enough. Rails also needs to buffer for a bit. This is for any percent. This is an any percent build that I've just set up at a quite relaxed pace of finishing the game in 4 hours. It is quite relaxed for any percent. When you see that yellow science finishes, you should really pick up all the stuff on the belt and all the stuff that's buffering the assemblers, because these blue circuits are very expensive. And like stop inserting here, cut that belt, and then pick everything up, and that should give them that should give you enough blue circuits. You can of course put all the load and structures back in these chests, which are now full, but the blue circuits you will need to create the prod module 2s and 3s and to craft the silo. So those you can keep. Any excess you can put back in into rocket control unit production. Yeah, the iron patch is quite good. The copper patch is also very good. That's why this is the map I have run 100% on. I think my best time on this is like 2:28 something. Let me check. I don't even remember. This is default settings. 2:28:14. I think Narf is getting very close to beating that time, so I might need to improve it a bit. Maybe I should use a build like this. I didn't use a build like this. I used a buffer green circuits and stuff, just because I ran out of space to add more copper lanes. Maybe builds like this is better actually. Not sure. Yeah. Okay. I think we have gone through everything I wanted to go through about speedrunning. How to create your own build. I will upload this video to YouTube, and I will link to the map string and also the sheet I created today, the Excel sheet in Google Sheet, so you can use this as a template if you want to design your own speedrunning. And I really hope more of you will try this. It's really fun to speedrun. It is a lot of fun. It's very challenging, and you can spend hours and hours trying to optimize this build. If I move everything one tile to the right, one tile to the left, can I get the belts through in an easier way that's slightly faster setup? Don't send it to Antti, he'll work back. I think Antti knows all this stuff already. I mean, I didn't invent any of this. Maybe the planning sheet that I do, this production scores. I mean, this is just how I do it. Everyone has their own way of doing it. I like visualizing this when I can visualize exactly how many lines of everything I need. I think it's quite visually easy, so I can see if I change this build to like 16, then I need 2.24 lines of copper, which is not a nice number. So I try to keep it around like I need complete lines. Also you can see if in this case we made blue circuits. What happens if I add prod modules in the green circuit assemblers? If we increase the yeah, we see I still only need one. But what happens to the copper? It goes down a bit. First was 94. Oh wait, that's actually clicked out, so it's even more. Now it was 126. If I add production modules, it goes down to 123. That's not that much, but some iron also went down. Then I might get some more if we input this number instead. Maybe I can go to 16 assemblers. No, it's still. So it's probably not worth it. Do you have an URL setting for each step or only one for all? What do you mean? I didn't get the question. Also the to-do list, what you should do in the correct order. I basically use the crafting list here as my to-do list. I know I'm going to do, this is the order I want to build everything in. First I'm going to do like power, then I'm going to automate gears, then we're going to do an iron line, another half iron line and half copper lane. Then we're going to automate inserters. Then we're going to do more power and automate coal. And stuff like that. But if living, I'm a software developer. Yeah. If you want to do like a big red circuit build, then you can when you see that, okay, I'm going to do how much input do I need for blue circuit if I already have red circuits buffered in a different build, then I can just click it out and say, okay, then I need a lot less of everything, a lot less copper, a lot less iron for my blue circuit build. So then I can update my sheet here. I have done tried to do builds like that also with like I have no done green circuits. Actually I should have clicked out sulfuric acid because that's not being fed from saline, so it's 75.6 instead of 75.9. Okay, it basically didn't affect it at all. You can spend very much time just in this screen looking at these numbers and trying different combinations and looking at this, which time can I reasonably get it down. Now I closed my splits, but you see here that I get blue signs down in 1 hour 12 minutes. That's 72. So I have it 80 minutes faster than this. But this is for relaxed time. Now wait, now I'm not comparing against, this is what's supposed to be compared, so 119. This setting I did the big green circuit, the big red circuit, and then process units, and then sciences. I usually try to set up my splits so they match these times, at least some of the times I have here. Like this blue circuit I actually have a split for. Then I can see quite easily afterwards if I hit this time or I was behind or I was ahead. And then I can adjust the build so that if I was ahead on one and behind on another one, I might be overproducing some stuff and not producing enough of something else, and that's not what you want to do. You want to produce exactly the right amount of everything. So in normal games of Factorio, you look a lot at science per minute. And you can see here, blue science is 37.5 science per minute, and purple science 97.2 science per minute. But science per minute is not really that interesting for speedrun. It's all about start time and finish time and amount produced. So you don't really need to care that much about science per minute, because it's not going to be equal for any of the sciences, because you need different amounts of sciences and you have a lot, and it takes time to set them up, and they're not going to be running forever. Okay, I think that will be it for today. Thank you everyone for watching. It was fun doing this guide, and I hope that more people will get into speedrunning. Try it at least once. And when you start speedrunning, you will steal someone else's build. That's quite fine. Everyone does that. That is quite great to steal of someone else's build. I mean, I started by stealing Antis and Rain's build, and then I designed my own because I liked that. And when you design your own, you understand that build better, because you don't do stuff just because someone else did it. You do stuff because you know why you need to do stuff in a certain order. So it's actually better to design your own build because you understand it better. Now, of course, I don't mind if you steal builds. That's part of the game. I mean, you can beat someone else's time by stealing their build and be better at execution, or you can beat their time by designing an even better build. And I think both of those are equally valid ways of beating someone else's time. So I mean, I'm not that fast mechanically. Ant is a lot faster mechanically than me. Rain is a lot faster. So I have to design better builds in order to beat their times. Ant is a bit out of practice now, but he will get there and he will beat my time. And when you're mastered any percent, you can move on to default settings, because default settings is harder, quite a lot harder actually. It's the variations in default settings are a lot. I mean, it's not just to set up another mining line. Here it's very easy. I just slap down a blueprint and bots fix it and I have another mining line. In default settings, yeah, you have to run across the entire map, maybe to like out here, and clear out 2 free nests, and then drag all the belts all the way back. Takes forever. And then all the while your base is getting attacked from the one point you didn't defend. Thereby to attack when you are on the other side of the map setting up mining outposts. So yeah, default settings is a lot harder. So I recommend starting with any percent. Yep. Okay. Thank you everyone for watching. We're gonna end the stream now. We're gonna see if we can find someone to host. Who else is playing Factorio? Anyone doing a speedrun? Clowntown is doing speedrun. Okay, that's an obvious host then. Okay, let's head over to Clowntown. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you next time.
Going to be performing Baby One More Time by